Alright guys, we're back staring at my engine bay, and in this video we are going to be installing the BlackVue DR900X 2-channel dash cam. Now this process can vary a little bit depending on what you bought, but for the most part, if you have a BlackVue dash camera, this process will be the same regardless of the exact model you picked. There are going to be a couple differences though. So first of all, like I said, I got the 2-channel dash cam, so I have both a front and a rear camera. If you're only installing a 1-channel dash cam, then of course you won't need to do the wiring portion to install a camera in the back of your car. The other thing is dependent on the accessories and supporting parts that you got for your parking mode. So I have the B124X battery pack, and that is going to help support the car being able to continue filming while the car is off for up to 24 hours. Now the way that you install it with the battery pack is I will run a power cable from the dash cam to the battery pack, and that's how the dash cam will be powered, and then the battery pack itself will be hardwired into the car. If you don't have a battery pack or a PowerMagic Pro or any other accessories like that, then you'll be able to just directly hardwire your dash cam to the car, or you can just plug it into the cigarette lighter. So a lot of different options. They send you wiring for all the different configurations that you might want, and then you can pick out the wires that you need for your specific setup and how easy you want the install to be. So if you ordered what I did, then this is what you'll get. Like I said, we have a front and a rear dash camera since we got the 2-channel version, and we also have the data cable that'll run from the front camera to the rear so that they can both film in sync. We have the cigarette lighter power cable, and that's what I'm going to be using to power it from the battery pack. Or you can have the hardwire cable installed, and this comes with everything that you need to actually get that fully plugged in. Then we also have some trim tools and accessories. You have your SD card, stuff just to make the install a little bit cleaner. You have some like wire hooks that you can use to hold the wires in place. Then I have the B124 battery pack, and then this is the install kit for that. So again, it comes with the power cable that runs to the dash cam, as well as a hardwire cable and the fuse tap and everything you need to hardwire it safely. Now keep in mind, I am a BlackVue affiliate, so I can definitely help you guys out if you're interested in buying BlackVue products. My affiliate link is down in the description, so you can go there to check out all of the BlackVue products. And if you use my coupon code, Kern417, it will give you 10% off of your order. So of course that makes it a little bit easier to help you get into the dash cam world. So let's go ahead and look at how we're going to install this inside of the car. All right, so now we're in the back of the car, and we're going to start by installing the rear camera. And I know that probably sounds a little bit backwards, but as you can see, my car is a coupe. So me being a grown man and climbing back here is the hardest part. So we're going to start with the most difficult part, installing the rear cam. This is what it looks like. So the cam is very small, and I'm going to tuck it in, actually rotate it, and then mount it right up here. You can see the headliner kind of has a little bit of a lip. So installing it right here next to the rear brake light won't obstruct my rear view too much. So I think that's a really good spot. And then we're going to actually run the wire all the way along the headliner and then install the battery pack in the glove box. So that will also help ensure that I'm having the shortest run of wiring required by putting it on the passenger side of the brake light. So you can kind of get creative depending on how you're mounting and wiring your setup, but I kind of already planned it out, and I know I want things to be on the passenger side. So it already has some 3M tape installed. We'll just take the red plastic off, press that up there, hold it for about 10 seconds so that it gets a really good seal, and then we'll be ready to go on to the next step. All right, so we have the dash cam mounted up. You can see it's pretty sleek, out of the way, not too easy to see in my rearview mirror. And next we're going to wire everything up. So this is the data cable, and you know which side is which because the one that plugs into the rear has an R, and the one that plugs into the front has an F. So we're going to plug in the rear plug into the dash cam, and then once you have it plugged in, we're going to begin running the wiring. So what I'm doing is pretty much just tucking it underneath the headliner. In this area, I can do it all by hand. But if you get into a spot like this where it's not tucking in easily, you can use one of these like angled trim tools and use that to kind of push the wiring back underneath the trim. So hard to do on camera, but you can basically pull this back a little bit, use your trim tool to push it in. We're going to run the wiring all the way around this pillar, then over this window, around the B pillar, over the door, all the way down to the glove box. So just take your time with it. Use a plastic trim tool, something that won't, ruin your tint or anything, and then you'll be able to get it all the way to the front of the car. So now we've run the wire, and I made a mistake. I'm not going to obviously run this all the way to the battery pack because it needs to plug into the front cam. So I stopped it at the A pillar, and now we're ready to mount the front camera. So I'm going to be mounting it up in this area right around here. And the benefit for me is that I can obviously film the front of the car really easily, but I can also rotate it and film the inside of the cabin. So I can see people in the passenger seat, people in the back seat, things like that. I was also considering mounting it lower on the windshield, but that would obstruct my view a little bit more. So, most people mount it up here behind the rearview mirror, so it's completely out of your line of sight. But again, I want to be able to turn it inside of the car and see interactions in the cabin. You can mount it pretty much anywhere, but a couple things to note. Pay attention to where your windshield wipers go, because my car is a left-hand drive car, so the wipers come over to the left. If I mount it all the way up here on the right corner, it'll be completely out of my line of sight, but the wipers don't pass over there. So if it's raining, it'll significantly obstruct my view. Also, this dot matrix is somewhere that you can stick the 3M tape to. It'll mount to it, no issue. But of course, you don't want your camera in front of the dot matrix either. So I'm going to make sure it's low below that line so it can still see the front of the car. So now that we've got all that planned out, we'll follow the same protocol. Wipe down the area, make sure it's really clean. Stick your mount on and hold it there for about 10 seconds so you get good adhesion. And then you'll be ready to move on to the next step. All right, so now we have the data wire tucked all the way behind the headliner, and down here it's coming out by the A pillar. I have everything wrapped up, and I'm just going to tuck it up here behind the headliner to get that out of the way. Now the last step is to get the power wire to this dash cam, and that means that I'm going to be installing the battery pack. So my plan is to take the battery pack and install it here in the glove box. And then we have a little dummy plug back here. So I'm going to pop that out and run my wiring through there. And we can run it basically behind the glove box and hardwire it to the fuse tap in the engine bay. So that should be a nice way to keep the install clean. And I'll have the battery pack right here, easy to access. I'll be able to see all of the LEDs on here that give me the indications about charging or any errors that are going on. I can obviously unplug it. I can add extra battery packs on top if I need to. Overall, this is just, I think, a good position to get it out of the way, but still be able to access it when I need it. So the first thing we're going to do is plug in this power cable for the hardwire line. Push that all the way in. Then we're going to plug in this adapter for the cigarette lighter plug for the dash cam. So plug that into the dash cam plug, make sure that's fully seated. And then we're going to plug in the cigarette lighter power cable for the dash cam into the battery pack adapter. And then we're going to run both of those wires through this hole in the back of the glove box. And we can pop off this side trim panel to give us a little more access to see what's going on back here. Alright, so now we have both the power going into the battery pack as well as the power coming out of the battery pack run through this little hole, and it's coming out the back of the glove box and then the side of the dashboard. So I just pulled this trim panel off, pulled all the wires through. I also went ahead and took that data cable that was dangling here, ran the wires all the way down, and then I'm just going to coil it up and store all of my extra wires right here behind the glove box, just because there's so much room. It doesn't make sense to put it anywhere else. So now we're going to take the power wire to the dash cam, run it back up the A-pillar across the headliner, and then plug it into the dash cam. So unfortunately, we're not able to see any easy access to the firewall through this little hole. I thought there might be a grommet or something that we could access, but nothing there. So we're going to need to remove the panel underneath the glove box in order to access those grommets, but it's pretty easy to remove.
Now, I think on some cars, these are Torx bolts, but on my car, you can see here, it's a 10mm nut. So remove the two 10mm nuts, and then you'll need to unplug this footwell light and this cigarette lighter outlet over here. And also just a reminder, since you're going to be unplugging some electrical connections, make sure you have the negative terminal of your battery disconnected in the trunk. Alright, so now we have the trim panel underneath the glove box removed. And you're going to come under here and basically find a grommet. So this one goes to the fuse box. You're not going to be able to access the engine bay through here. Ask me how I know. But this grommet over here is one that you can use. So these two holes are punched through most of the way, and you can use a screwdriver just to punch through the last little bit of membrane, and that will allow you to run a wire through the hole. I can't really show it on camera, but you can run a wire through that hole and get it into the engine bay, and then plug your fuse tap into the fuse box. So that's what we're going to do now.
All right, so now we're going to remove this trim panel right here. You've got 3 10mm screws. Just give each one a 1/4 turn, and then this whole piece pulls off. All right, so we got the wire through. Here it is. You can see it basically pulls through this grommet on the firewall. So kind of push it through that hole, and if you have a long like pick tool, it'll help you kind of hook it and pull it out, or you can use a screwdriver to try to wedge it out of there. So now we're going to find a 10-amp fuse. This is the one that I'm going to use right in the middle. It's connected to the power steering in the car, and basically you just want to make sure that the fuse is 10 amps so that it charges your battery as efficiently as possible. And also make sure it's something that is switched with the car. So when you turn the car on, it turns on, and when you turn the car off, it turns off. So on my car, that 10-amp fuse is perfect. Double check your fuse diagram to make sure you're using the right fuse for your car, or you can always check it with a multimeter to see which ones have power with the car on and turn off with the car off. So I got a fuse tap in the BlackVue kit that comes with a fuse. So they have a bunch of different fuse taps for whatever size fuse you want to work with, but this one is perfect. So I'm going to plug that into that fuse, and then we're going to wire that into this power cable. And then you also need to add a ground. So for me, I'm going to use this existing ground that I have. So just remove this nut, slide the terminal over the stud, and then put the nut back on to clamp it down and give you a good ground. All right, and there you go. So we've got the fuse tap in, we have the ground. Now we're going to basically tuck this down behind the fuse box. Just get it down and out of the way so that you don't have wires sticking up. And I'll pull the rest of the slack through that grommet, and then we can go ahead and put the cover back on. Just kind of clip the front two in. The rear two might be tight with the wire sticking out, but it'll stay on like that. All right, so now we have everything done. All of the wiring is tucked away. The trim panels are all put back on, and we're ready to start up the car. Before you get it going on your battery pack, you need to pick which charging mode it's going to work with. So since I hardwired it, I'm going to move it over to the hardwire side. If you just plugged it into the cigarette lighter, then you'll put it on the other side. And now we'll start up the car. Hard to see, but we got lights on the battery, and now we have lights on the dash cam. Now I'm gonna need to put an SD card in there, so it was freaking out a little bit, but other than that, you can see everything's powering on. The battery pack is charging.
And we're good to go. Even with the car off, you can see the battery pack still has a little bit of charge. Yeah, I know you don't have an SD card, so you're mad, but it's still having a little bit of power so that it can run with the car off. So yeah, that's how you install the dash cam, and this is everything that I have left. So you can see it has extra parts to hardwire the camera directly or plug in the battery pack to the cigarette lighter, a bunch of different options for the fuse taps, and you have some Velcro depending on how you want to mount it and things like that. So a lot of different options on how you want to install it, and all of it comes with the kit, so it lets you have all the versatility you need to install it exactly how you want. But I know most people just kind of use the cigarette lighter and make the install a little bit easier, a little more plug and play, but I did want to show a method to hardwire it to the fuse box so that you'll always have power and you'll have the fastest, most efficient charging available. So I hope this video helps. Look out in the future for more videos and actual clips from the dash cam. I'll show examples of the quality of the video and things like that on my Instagram and TikTok. So you can follow my other social media as well to see more updates on that in the future. And thanks for watching this video. So if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.